You slept in Paris Hilton's bed?
I did, yeah. Like, so one of the heirs to the Hilton fortune came to the show. But the craziest story I would have to say is we were on tour with Taking Back Sunday and Fall Out Boy, and we were playing this place called the Warfield, and it's in the Tenderloin. We're in the dressing room, and our tech comes in, he goes, yo, van's broken into. So we run upstairs, we go in, the driver's side window is smashed in.
3 Levittown guys eating at a local Levittown restaurant, Marriage and Errors.
Keep it cooking in the oven. The oven. Yep. The oven. The oven. The oven. Yep. The oven. The oven smells good. The oven. Yep.
The oven's preheated. We're sitting down with fellow Levitrash.
Yes.
Joe Zizzo.
Yeah, Levitrash.
Yes.
My fiance always calls me Levitrash. She does. She's from Massapequa, so.
Oh, Massapequa, don't get me
Fuck
started
the
on that.
Chiefs.
We actually brawled with them our senior year of baseball.
Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me because there was always, we would be in class and they're like, we're going to go fight the people in Massapequa or East Meadow or wherever after school. That was a thing.
Massapequa forgets they're the same trash as us. Their parents just have a little bit more money.
Yeah.
They live by the water, dude. Cool.
Yeah.
But DJ and drummer with Bob Moses.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
This is
dude.
super cool. I didn't know what to expect, but we got wings and food. This is
Chicken parm
I'm
on the
glad I
way.
left,
Chicken parm on
the
the
pasta.
tonight.
But
Yeah, you gotta come to the oven hungry, man. Gotta come to the oven hungry. That's one of the prereqs.
Yeah, hell yeah.
we're the
glad
Oven
I did.
Podcast. I'm Mario. That's my Croatian co-host Franco, aka Papa Fazul.
Papa.
Don't forget, follow us on all socials. Most importantly, keep sharing the show.
Yep.
And if you haven't already, spank that subscribe button.
That's it. We're here. We're local today. Nice local spot, Levittown, with fellow Levittown, Joe Zizzo. This is gonna be fun, man.
It was convenient. It was convenient to come here, and I know the owner of this place for quite some time. He brought it up.
Speaking of,
Garrett, speaking of.
You slept in Paris Hilton's bed?
I did, yeah. Like, so, one of the heirs to the Hilton fortune, one of the boys came to the show, and because Sky is like a big model and all this shit, so she knew him, and one of the other kids knew him, so he came to the show. Then we went to some after party with him. And I'm like, all right. And then we're like driving around, and then we go into a gas station, and he's like out of his mind. He's like fighting with the guy behind the counter. I'm like, this dude's off the record. I was like, I don't know about this dude. And then he's like, let's go to this after party. So we go to this after party. Then we go to another thing. He's like, okay. It was like fucking 6 o'clock in the morning. He's like, let's just go back to my place. You guys can just stay with me. And we were staying on the Surf Lodge, also a motel.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be staying there. He's like, just stay with me. So we stayed at their family estate in the Hamptons. And I'm like, we're all hanging out in the basement. Everybody's still drinking. The sun is coming up. I'm like, yo, I need to go to bed. Where can I sleep? He goes, you can just go upstairs, crash in my sister's whole room. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I wonder, and then they walk me up, and it's just, I mean, we're in the fucking mansion is like, it's proper. You know what I mean? It's like out of a movie. Like, just, you don't want to touch anything. There's art everywhere and sculptures. And yeah, I just walk up there. I lay in the bed. I was like, this is the most comfortable fucking bed I've ever been in. And the sun was coming up. I'm like, I'm out. Went to bed. It was 7 o'clock. I get waking up. Boom, boom. 8 o'clock in the morning, I get waking up. And Sky, the girl that I play for, she disappeared. So the keyboard player's like, we got to find her. I'm like, dude, I'm going back to bed. I'm not, like, stop it. Like, she's an adult.
Feel this bed?
Yeah, you feel these sheets? So, like, I'm like, dude, no, like, whatever. She's a grown-up. He's like, no, we got to find her. So we were, like, walking around the neighborhood, and then we just took an Uber. Couldn't find her. We had to take an Uber back to the hotel, which was, like, 45 minutes, because now we're in the Hamptons, and it was, like,
my God.
That was in Montauk. So now, at, like, 8 o'clock in the morning on no sleep, we Uber back to the hotel. She's at the hotel. She was, for whatever reason, she just disappeared. No, didn't tell anybody, just called, I guess, a car. Disappeared without telling everybody, and everybody got panicked, and then slept for like fucking 3 hours, and then just took the LIRR back to fucking Montauk.
Oh, that's the most miserable train ride too.
Yeah, it was a long train ride. I was like, dude.
Sometimes when it's time to sleep and you want to get out of there, you don't say a word to anybody. You
yeah.
just, once the sun comes up.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no words to be said sometimes, especially after an after party like that. 3 Levittown guys eating at a local Levittown restaurant, Marriage and Errors. This is, Garrett just shows out every time we come here, man. I feel like we're back at home. It's we've been going in the city a lot for a lot of those shows, so it's nice to catch you in between your tour.
Yeah.
And he said you were making the time, so you just played at Madison Square Garden, yeah?
I did. I did. That was a bucket list one.
Was this your first time?
It was. It was. Like, I've been now touring for about 20 years and played a lot of places, and you know, some of them shitholes, some amazing, but like this was probably the last one on my list, I think, out of every venue that I wanted to hit, that I just never got to. And years ago we did Barclays Center. I did it with another artist called Sky Ferrer, and we did like that twice. But you know, the show could either go to Barclays or Madison Square Garden. It's like the same size, and it always went to Barclays. So this time it went to MSG and got to, well, okay, hit that goal.
What was that feeling like when you were on stage? Like, what hit you first?
And it's surreal because we've been doing this tour is with Bob Moses, and we're direct support, which means we're playing right before the headliner, which is Odessa. So there's a few openers, and then there's us. And the stage setup, we just did like a whole full United States tour with them. We did 40 shows or something. The stage setup is the same everywhere you play. So when you get up on the stage, you could be in Boise, you could be in New York City, you could be anywhere, and they all sort of start to look the same. Obviously, there's something about Madison Square Garden and being from here that was like, it was special. Just look at the ceiling and you're like, you gotta just check yourself. And so, but once you start going, then it just becomes autopilot.
Yep.
And then it's when you get off and then you're like, holy shit, we just did a thing. That's when it's crazy.
That's awesome. We just did a thing.
Madison Square Garden.
That's how me and Franco felt for the last year and a half, except just we don't get to do it at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. So we keep, referring back to Levittown. So you went to Division High School.
I did.
Right? So I saw you post a video the other day. It was your first time here. You said, what, like 12 and a half years?
I come back all the time. I just moved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm back on tour all the time. And my parents are here and my fiance's in Massapequa, so we come back for the holidays all the time.
Oh, okay. Because I saw you post like a video of you walking past Memorial. Or was that Memorial or was that Abbey?
That was Wisdom.
Oh, that was Wisdom?
That was Wisdom.
No
I thought you were
way.
from Levittown, bro.
Dude, are you sure that was Wisdom?
Yeah.
I thought you said elementary school.
No, I think middle school. Did I say elementary
I
school?
thought it was elementary. I don't know. I was going to say,
well,
I was hoping it was Abbey Gator.
Well, I am. I went to Abbey.
Wow.
See? You see how that works?
No, I went to Abbey in elementary school, and then I went to Wisdom in middle school and then Division High School.
I knew you were an Abbey Gator. I felt it deep down
Yeah.
inside. I really did.
Yeah, it was weird going because I'm like 3 houses from the cusp from going to MacArthur and Sauk. So all my friends in elementary school, they all went to Sauk and MacArthur, and I went to Wisdom around the corner from me with a bunch of kids that wanted to beat me up because there was a girl in 5th grade that liked me and she dumped some other guy. And I was like, I don't even like you. And she's like, well, you're my boyfriend now. And I'm like, I don't want to be your boyfriend. And then I went into middle school with these guys that wanted to just beat me up. So it was a tough first year.
So it's always been like that.
Yeah.
What's did they ever get close? Did they ever get close to giving you a beating or no?
Forgive me. No, they're just like they were just all talking. Then we became friends, and then
good.
I think we had like a birthday party at a United States together. So everything worked out.
United States.
United States,
I
man.
worked there. That's how I started DJing. Actually, I was the Skatosaurus, and I worked at United Skates when I was like 16, 17 years old.
You were the Skatosaurus?
Yeah,
Dude, that's amazing.
And that's how the DJing started.
that's how it started. I was like into inline skating and was into like skateboarding and biking when I was a kid. I mean, this shirt right here, Gleaming the Cube, this is like 1988 Christian Slater, one of the best skateboarding movies ever. But got into like aggressive skating. And you guys know Yam? You know, like next to Wisdom, which is around the corner from my house.
Yam.
It was Yam. They used to have a skate park there that they would set up on weekends. And then like all the L-Town trash would come out. And they had to shut it down because there was fights and drugs eventually, but for a few years it was awesome. And we would skate, they had half pipes and spines and shit hooked up. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's always been like part of Levittown though. Like everyone was always like skateboarding. When we were younger, you couldn't like walk the street without seeing people either walking or riding their bikes. It was just everywhere you look. We talked about this the other day. Like, do kids work? Do kids ride around their bikes? Like, what do they do now?
Yeah, you never see them outside anymore. Just games, video games, iPhone, iPad. That's it. But Dude, I'm jealous because when I go to United States, first off,
Can you skate?
Yeah, barely, barely. I'm that guy that has to hold the wall for 2 laps, and then I get warmed up. But don't ask me to stop. Don't ask me to go backwards. I can't do that.
It was a good job, man. It was cool. It was like I was playing hockey, and we were like inline skating. So I was just like, all right, I took to it quick. And then there was a DJ, and there was this older kid. He was cool, man. Super hip dude. Had like a pimped out like minivan. And it was just like this like Dodge Caravan, but he had it totally hooked up. And he would show up, he has a system in it, and he was the cool DJ cat. And he started to show me how to work everything. And I was always playing music, I was always playing drums. And so I took to it really quick and then started DJing. Well, that's how it all sort of started. And this older guy that worked there saw that I was doing it, I was taking it serious, and he's like, man, I own my own company. You should come and work for me. And so I started doing like, Sweet 16s with him.
Nice.
And he introduced me to another guy that had a bigger company. And then we started doing these huge like bar mitzvahs and weddings. And for like 8 years, I worked in a very ritzy North Shore community doing like $150,000 bar mitzvahs. And crazy, we started bringing video games and I was like 18, 19, 20, so he would take advantage of us, and we would load up the truck with arcade machines, and we'd bring in arcade machines to these kids' parties. They would be broken, and he would make believe they broke them, and then we'd have a guy fix them on site. It was like a hustle, but it was still super high-end events, and that's how I sort of cut my teeth DJing, learning how to play for 7-year-olds and learning how to play for 70-year-olds. And so that was
Just both ends of the
good experience. Yeah.
And was it at the bat mitzvahs that you got so good at breakdancing?
Oh,
I heard.
you heard about this?
Yeah.
No, actually, I started there, yeah, because we would have dancers. We'd have dancers, and the dancers were, one of the guys from Menudo was a dancer and an MC for us for a little bit, and then we had a bunch of amazing female dancers. So I sort of got into it there, and then I was in college at the time. And I went to school for acting, and so me and a bunch of actor buddies, they also like had gymnastics and like a circus arts course that you would take as an actor, and we just got into doing weird shit, gymnastic shit, and then they opened a breakdancing thing in I went to Nassau for the first 2 years, and then I went to Queens College, but they opened up nice. Yeah, they started like a b-boy camp, and so we started doing that, and then got super into it. Yeah.
Wow.
So where did you guys like start? With sleeping. Because I can't lie to you, man. I remember it had to be like 2006 or 2007, maybe. We went through. There was like the LimeWire phase, and we were downloading everything. And I remember it was, man. I can't remember what song it was. That Don't Hold Back.
Don't hold back.
And that's like the usual one. That was like the number one. That was a banger, dude. And I remember listening to that in high school with like Cody and Cambria and like bands like that.
Yeah.
And when Garrett was like, yeah, he's with the sleeper. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, the sleeper. I'm like, yeah. Levittown like that. Was it a group of Levittown guys or?
No. So I auditioned for a band called Sky Came Falling. It was sort of more of an old school late 90s hardcore band. Came up with like Poison the Well and Thursday and stuff like this. And I got in, and I was going to Queens College at the time, the Aaron Copland School of Music, studying like classical music. And I was like, I don't want to teach, and I don't want to be in a philharmonic. I want to hit the road and tour. And so I got the opportunity to join that band. And we toured for a little bit, but then like the second show, they're like, we're breaking up. I'm like, dudes, I left school to do this.
Oh, man.
And they were like, it's okay, we're going to start a new band. So we started the new one. One of the guitar players from Massapequa, bass player was from Queens, and the singer was from out here on Long Island somewhere. And he decided he didn't want to do it, so then we held auditions for a new singer. And our singer that we got, we still have, he's from Jersey.
Nice.
I have a random question about this.
Yeah.
Nowadays I feel like it's so easy to come into contact with people because of social media and how easy it is to, see someone playing online. when you have a band and like you know, at one point you guys decided to stop, like you said, or like when you're searching for a new member, what was that process like back then? Like you just gotta, you know, put out a flyer and say, hey, we're looking for someone.
Flyers, hang out flyers at Guitar Center.
At Guitar Center. Oh
Yeah.
my! Remember like Monster Music? Is that still a thing?
I just saw that it says Monster Music is back. That's
Really?
like around that. You know who owns that, right?
Chris Angel's brother. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Angel, man.
Yeah, dude, no, it was hard. I mean, there was no computers. Like, I didn't even have a computer until I was, like, in college. So I'm not the most computer savvy guy. But, I mean, nowadays, everybody has to learn. If you're not and you want to keep up with the Joneses, you got to make it happen. But yeah, I mean, phone calls, you know, calling friends, other bands. Who do you know? How do you, you know, even when we were, like, started to tour, it was calling clubs. Calling local bands from other places to see if they wanted, if we could open for them, if we could, you know, we're going to come in from out of town and we didn't make any money, you know, there'd be no guarantee. We would just get paid. We would just hustle merch and that would put gas in the tank. Wow. You know? And so we paid ourselves $5 a day. And that was for like probably 5 years, $5 per diem a day. And at the time it was just dollar menus. So, you know, you just go McDonald's or Taco Bell, you could get a few things for $5.
Yeah.
And that was how we sort of survived for a while.
Wow. When the dollar menu was actually a dollar menu.
When the dollar menu existed.
Then they get the double stack for $4. It's like I might as well get a meal.
Yeah.
Kidding me? So what was your first tour like?
Wow.
Other than the $5 per diem, like, you know, like compared to where you're at now.
World of difference, but I gotta say, like, I mean, it was my first tour, so of course it's super memorable. But like, when you start something with guys and you go through the gauntlet together from the jump, like you just form like a undeniable bond. I mean, it's like you guys doing this, like, you know, like you look at this 10 years later down the road, it's like what you've put into this to get it to grow and it's like you cannot fake the funk. It's just that bond is real, and that's like the fact that we're all still friends is something I like really value about that thing, because we went through insanity together. I mean, that first tour was no exception. Like, so we bought a vehicle out here. We bought a shuttle bus from an old church, and on the way bringing it home, the first day it went on fire.
Oh my God.
So that wasn't a great start. And then the first tour, the transmission blew. So we were stuck in Georgia, in Cordele, Georgia, which is the watermelon capital of the world, if you're interested in knowing that piece of information. But
I love watermelon. We're going.
Yeah.
Cordele, you said?
Cordele, Georgia. And we played in Waycross, and we played the front office space of a law office. They were having like punk shows there. So it was about the size of this room here. And there was probably 20 or 30 people piled in. So it was like, it was fucking fun. It was packed. It was wild. And we did that. And then on the way out of Georgia, our transmission blew, and we were stuck in a hotel for a week while we were getting it fixed. But the people that we met at the show, they were like, "Oh shit, you guys broke down. We'll bring you food. We'll bring you, you know, drinks." Oh. So it was amazing. So they drove like an hour. They brought us stuff, and they're still our friends to this day. I actually just went to one of the girls' weddings like 2 weeks ago.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's cool. But it was a rough tour, man. It was a rough tour, but it was amazing also. So.
When you're starting out and you're just in a funk where, like you said, it's one thing after another, and you're like, and you start to think to yourself, is this worth it? Am I supposed to be doing it? Like, how do you push yourself to keep going when everything just seems to be working against you along the way?
Man, I mean, I think I deal more with that now than I dealt with that then, because we were like in our 20s. It was just an adventure. It was like an adventure. We were, you know, I was still living at home. I didn't have to pay rent. Like, my expenses were low, and it was a drug then like it is now, but now the stakes are higher because the pressure's higher, and being an adult, it just makes it complicated. And when we were young, it really wasn't quite the thing. But what was the question? Sorry, what was it?
Just when it seems like everything's working against you and it's one thing after another, how do you keep yourself motivated to keep going?
Honestly, it's the moments that, it's like I say about this life, it's really truly like a roller coaster. The highs are so high, the lows are so low, and the highs just balance the scales out. You know, when it's rough, but then you play one good show and you do, you know, you get to play MSG, it's like, you're like, I gotta keep doing this, even when it gets super, you know, like with the band that I play with now, there's some years we'll be in like 100 planes a year. And it gets tiring, it gets
taxing,
rough,
man.
you're not sleeping, you feel sick, your body craps out. But then you'll just do like, you'll be in the middle of Istanbul and you'll meet some amazing dude after a show and he's just like, takes you to some wacky bar and then you meet all these other people and you're like, how do I stop doing this? Like,
Right.
I can't.
Yep. Exactly.
And it's like, it is sort of like a drug. It's like, you know that in a lot of ways it's not great for you, but like when it's good is the best and you can't say no when it's bad.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you keep bringing up MSG, man. So I know that was like your pinnacle book. Other than MSG, before that, what was your favorite either tour or like venue that you played at, or most memorable?
Well,
We did our research. You know, we've seen you. You've been all over the map, man.
my favorite's hard to say. I think one of the bucket list shows was Red Rocks. We headlined Red Rocks recently.
Love that place.
And have you guys been?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's obviously a gorgeous place. We went there supporting a band called Rufus the Soul a few years ago, and like that was a cool show to support them. But to be able to go back and headline it, like it was it's a different ball game. It's
Yeah.
like doing these support tours. They're always amazing, but it's something different when you're headlining and it's your show. Everybody knows they're there to see that band and
Right.
see you do your thing. So that was monumental for me because
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was just like an iconic place. The people that were on that stage, it's like everybody, the
Yeah.
Beatles, you know, I mean, everybody who's anybody who played that stage, and to be able to be like a headlining act there was phenomenal. And then like, you know, you juxtapose that with a few years prior, the same band, Bob Moses, we did a China tour and we
Okay.
played Wuhan.
Oh, that was probably nuts.
It was fucking crazy. We
Yeah.
went to Wuhan. It was before COVID. It was in 2017, and it was definitely like the most like, you know, all the cities. A lot of the cities in China are monstrous, right? They're gigantic. Even the smaller ones are bigger than our big cities. But parts of where we were in Wuhan was like the poorest of the poor I've ever seen. Savagely like underdeveloped and poor, and it was like. I think that's what's great about tour as well. I think travel is the greatest way to understand humanity, because you cannot, like, out of context, things don't make sense, but when you see them in context,
Yep.
you realize like, okay, we're all just coming from a different place. It's not like, you know, there's issues. You could not agree with this guy. You could not agree with this guy, but that's where he's from and that's his thing, and that's where he's from and that's his thing, and you don't have to like it, but you just got to try to understand it. And going there, I realized how different the culture was. It was like, I've been to Europe, we've been to Australia, we've been everywhere. China was like the furthest from what it's like to live in sort of a, you know, a westernized world. And it was insane. But it was really intriguing. It was intriguing. I learned a lot about the people and the culture, and it was super cool. But I'll never forget that show because the kids didn't know what to do. They would just stand there when we play, not move. And then when we would finish, they would cheer and clap, and then back to silence. And then we play the next song and the same.
Really?
And the stuff wasn't set up really right. So one of the guys got electrocuted really bad, like
Oh my
almost
God.
like to the point where we were like, do we go to the hospital? But like, should we go to a hospital? Like,
Yeah, like over here.
You're better off playing doctor than going.
yeah. It was a little crazy.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, but yeah, and then like even like a local thing, like the Sleeping did a reunion in 2016 at the Paramount, and that was pretty much a sold out show, and that was even up against the backlog of these incredible venues that I've played with a lot of other acts. I think that being my band, that was one of my favorite gigs I've ever done.
Really? At the Paramount?
Yeah, it was practically sold out. It was a reunion. We had all the guys that have ever played in the band on the stage. People came from all over the country for the show, and it went the fuck off. And it was just, the energy in the room was like incredibles, and so that's one I'll never forget. That was a great one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people calling for another Sleeping reunion, man.
Yeah, man, we We did something last year. We did like a small like underplay last year in Brooklyn because we put out a record like about a year ago, I think now. But it was like we raised a bunch of money on Kickstarter to put the record out. We went in to record just a few songs and we ended up getting a full length. So we put it out. It's, you know, it's like, it's such a part-time thing for all of us. So we haven't had time to really hit the road and get super busy with it, but we've had some good response. We're proud of the record and we do want to do more. And we do want to do another like proper Long Island thing.
Nice.
We just gotta, you know, you don't want to oversaturate. We did Brooklyn last year. We'll probably wait a little bit and then maybe come back and do something big on Long Island at some point.
Nice.
Awesome. Before we head into dessert, I want to ask you one thing about your Airbnb, and that's tell me every little thing about it.
He wants to ask you one thing, he wants to know everything.
Yeah. I know the whole process. You know, you put a lot of work into it yourself. The views are crazy. The design is unique, and it's in the middle of nowhere. Tell us about it.
Man. No, I mean, I dig talking about it because, like, I don't come from, like, a lot of bread. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't grow up with a ton of money, and I don't know shit about construction. And I'm like, how do you get ahead outside? You know, I've been focused on music for 20 years. How do you, like, get into the game? You know what I mean? How do you get into, start building some, like, generational wealth and some passive income? How do you get this set up? How do you get a house? I mean, in LA, a house is $1 million for 800 square feet. So it's like, not going to do that. So I found out that there was a thing called a USDA loan, which is 0% down. So the first house I got in the desert, Joshua Tree is a beautiful area. It's a national park, and people from LA go out there. They get weird for the weekend. People from all over the world travel to see the park.
Yeah.
U2 sort of made it famous. They have a record called Joshua Tree.
Yeah, Joshua Tree. There's a bar in the city called Joshua Tree, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so
based on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an iconic place. It's beautiful. And I had been going out there for years. I'm like, I always wanted to do something. And it started to get like, it was starting to get a little buzzy where people like now are like, we're starting to get out there and do it. The first house I got for $120,000 on a USDA loan, which is 0% down. So I had probably like $8,000 in my bank account. And I went in with a buddy. I was like, let's figure out a way to do this. We'll do the work ourselves. Put $2,000 in closing costs. Put the renovations on credit cards and bought a house. And then we gutted it. We fixed it ourselves. We put all the, you know, all the work on credit cards, got all the points, and then we flipped it. So we flipped it 8 months later. The pandemic hit a month or two after I got the house. So we lucked out because then everybody wanted to get out of the city and go to the desert. But so I do the house, right? It takes me a year and a half. My buddy's doing a house. Me and my brother are sleeping at his while we're doing mine, and there's no AC, so we're dying 110 degrees in the dead of summer. Fucking just, I mean, it was an insane amount of work. And if I knew what I knew now, I don't know if I would even have did it, but like, I'm really happy I did. Anyway, you know, getting permits is a motherfucker. But in the desert, the guy that gave me my permit showed up high. And he was inspecting my hot tub and electrical, the hot tub, and he shows up and he's high, and he forgot to submit the inspection plans to the town, so I almost lost my Airbnb permit because it wasn't happening in time. I had to call him like 3 times, like, sorry, man, I was super fucking high. We were talking about Slayer and we were talking about snakes and shit because there was a snake out there, and he forgot multiple times. Anyway, I got it going, so I was up on Airbnb. I got it going. First guest is my buddy. He's a producer cat. He's like, I'm going to stay out there with my girlfriend. I'm like, cool. He's like, I'm going to do it through Airbnb so I could give you a good review. I was like, you got it. Thank you. So he does through Airbnb. It goes fucking great. He's like, I loved it. The place is beautiful. You did an amazing job. I'm like, I'm off to a good start. This is going to be good. People are going to fuck with this place. The next guest, he writes me, and I notice that he doesn't have a perfect rating on Airbnb. And I'm like, but it wasn't bad. And I go, why do you have this shit rating? And he goes, well, this one, you know, he had a 4.5 star out of 5. I was like, why'd you get one bad review? He's like, oh, we just left some dirty dishes, not a big deal. And I was like, okay, I'm sure, well, fucking whatever. You know,
for me, that's like a 2, dude. You do some dirty dishes, you're getting some bad reviews on that. I'm not touching those dishes.
I learned my fucking lesson because I was trying to not be too harsh. It was like the first thing I wanted to get people in there, get reviews. So he stays at the place. I go on tour. I'm about to take the stage. We're in Denver. We're at a festival. I'm about to walk on stage, and I get a text message from this person through the Airbnb app saying, I love this place, but I broke your hammock, but the feelings are just eating away at me, but I'm so happy, and I'm like, he was saying shit that made like no sense. You wouldn't string these words together if you were like
Tripping balls.
not on hard drugs.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, holy sh-. So I'm about to like flip out on this dude. Like he's like, I broke all your hammocks, and I'm like,
All of them?
yeah, like I had two. I had a hanging chair, and I had this hammock that like I had to go to the end of the earth to get and whatever. And he broke it, and so I was gonna flip on him, but my brother's like, dude, he's still at your house, don't like be cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Didn't hear from him. Whatever. Long story short, him and his buddy, I see them on my Ring camera that night. They were at the house. They're they're walking away from it, and I'm like, okay, well they're together. They're things should be fine. The house isn't on fire. The next day, I'm at the airport about to go home. My cleaner calls me, and she's like, this is the first time I'm dealing with her, really. The first time we're doing business together. And she's like, did you get my photos? I'm like, no. She's like, I don't know what to say to you, but your house is fucking destroyed, and there is blood everywhere, and there was like I don't know what happened, but in 9 years I haven't seen anything like this. And I'm in the airport, and my buddies are with me, and they're looking at me like, what is going on? My buddy, he goes, I'm gonna just take your bag and walk away. And I look at my phone, and it is just destruction, and looks like someone was murdered blood outside, inside, on the hammocks, blood everywhere.
Oh my God.
I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, do I cry? Do I scream? Do I punch a wall? I don't even know. Like, I just worked for a year and a half. First dude that I didn't know booking the place destroys the shit.
It.
I fly home. I find out that apparently he tried to take his own life and chose my fucking house to do it in, and like then destroyed it, in the process. So I get on the phone with the cops. They don't want to deal with me. I get on the phone with Airbnb. They're like, I don't know, just submit a request. And so
Just submit a request.
That's such an Airbnb response.
yeah, I mean, like they, in their defense, they were like smooth with it. They didn't want to deal with a lot of detail, but they were just like, just send us receipts. We'll pay you out.
Yeah.
The local cops don't love the Airbnb stuff in the desert, so they didn't give a fuck. And so then I went the next day, and my amazing fiance helped clean the house. He broke my table. He broke a beautiful glass coffee table. He broke pendant lamps, punched holes in the walls, ripped all the hammocks. The cleaners were amazing. They cleaned up. I rewired the lights. I patched the wall. I was in and out of there in 9 hours and got it back up and running. I'm like,
Wow.
Not letting this dude ruin this fucking shit. And they blocked me from him, so I could never see or hear from him again. They kicked him off the platform because he's and I don't think he tried to kill himself. I think him and his buddy got high on some crazy shit and destroyed the house.
And just got,
Because they swept up the glass table too. Like, they broke the glass table in a million pieces, and then they swept it up in the corner. There was evidence around that was like, nah, you didn't, and the time frame didn't add up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was a scapegoat to get away with it. You fucking did meth, and you beat the shit out of each other and fucked my house in the process.
100%. Wow.
I didn't even think about
That's
it like that.
everyone who was thinking about investing in real estate just decided not to.
He's a private investigator. It's like the timeline didn't add up. And like,
No, that's the girlfriend, man. She's like, okay. She just gets on everywhere and searches this guy's name, and she finds all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I sweat the small stuff too much. I'm like really neurotic. But with this, it was like, no, there's no way like I can let this ruin what I've built. Like, I worked too hard. And it just was like, I just turned into robot mode. It's like, just get it fixed, get it done, and get going, keep it moving. And we only missed one booking, and we got it back up, and I've slammed ever since. But the craziest story I would have to say is we were on tour with Taking Back Sunday and Fall Out Boy, and we were playing this place called the Warfield, and it's in the Tenderloin, which is, the Tenderloin's like Skid Row in LA. The Tenderloin is like a third world country. It's bad news bears.
Okay.
The venue is beautiful. It's like 4,000 caps, but the area is just straight fucking, you don't want to walk around. There's security outside everywhere to make sure when you get out of your van, they help you get into the venue, because shit will go down. It's like that. So we're in the dressing room, and our tech comes in, and he goes, yo, van's broken into. We're like, motherfucker. So we run upstairs, we go in, the driver's side window is smashed in. We look inside the van, And everybody else is in a tour bus, we're in a van. We're like, what the hell? What did they take? We're looking around. We can't find anything that they took. The only thing that I wound up realizing is they took my backpack. It was a bright yellow backpack. They didn't take anything else. They took my
Jansport?
backpack. What?
Jansport?
No. It wasn't Jansport. It was some side satchel bag, but I had a book I was drawing in for like 10 years in there. I had my camera. I had this a video game thing, all this shit. So I saw, but the book is what I cared about. It was
that would bother me.
I had been drawing in it for like since I had been touring, and so I got out of the van and immediately I just saw red, and I started screaming because there's everybody walking around the streets and they're all bugging out and everybody's like, and I'm like, who the fuck took my backpack? And these people look at me like I got 10 heads, and this one guy tries to help me, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to fucking have it. And I'm looking around, and this other guy goes, I know where you get your bag. And I'm like, you're full of shit, fuck you. And I was just like, yo, leave me alone, because I was heated up. And he goes, yo, I'll fuck you up. I'm serious. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'm gonna calm down, I'm gonna listen. And he's just like, when they steal shit over here, they bring it 10 blocks that way. You go that way 10 blocks, you're gonna find your shit. And I'm like,
No
okay.
fucking way.
I know, it seemed crazy. But so I was like, I'm going. And I was just seeing red, and I just started going. And our camera guy at the time, he's like, I'm gonna go with you. So he came with me. The band was like, he's gonna be dead. He's dying. He's going to die. And so I just took up and started walking 10 blocks. I'm just like, we get to a point where it doesn't look like there's shit around. I'm like, I don't know. Let's walk up this block. We're about 10 blocks in. We walk up this block. There's a dude doing crack on the street, smoking down. Broad daylight. It's probably 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He's smoking crack on the street. There's, drug addicts. It's brutal neighborhood. We get to the corner. There's like 50 people there. And I was like, yo, I'm going to lose my fucking mind when we get to this corner. Like, I'm walking through this crowd, and I'm going to lose it. If shit goes down, run back to the venue. I'll meet you there. And I'm not this dude. I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a fighter kind of cat. I just was so fired up that it was like my personal shit. It's happened to me before, like, and we make no money. I'm like, no.
It's almost like take my money and leave the book.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even care about the other stuff. So I get to the corner and I start screaming at these people. There's a crowd of people. It wound up being like it's like a methadone clinic, and there's a bunch of people outside of this place. They're hanging on cars and just chilling. And I'm like, who the fuck took my bag? And they see this like a little white dude just screaming, and I'm like, did you take it, motherfucker? Did you take it, motherfucker? Fuck you up. And they're just looking at me like, what the fuck? And so I get through this crowd. On the street, alongside of the wall, is my backpack on the floor. I run up, I grab my bag. This one guy goes, yo, what are you doing? He's sitting on a car. He's like, what are you trying to do? I'm like, did you steal this? I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. This is my bag. I'm gonna fucking kill you. And he's like, no, man, I'm just watching for someone. I'm like, you're lying to me. My friend's like, yo, we gotta just get out of here. You got your bag, let's get the fuck out of here. I'm just fired up. So we start running back to the venue. Someone grabs me, boom, throws me against the wall. And I'm like, fuck, get off me. I start defending. It's this big cop. And he's just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm like, get off me. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, my backpack was stolen. They broke into my van. They took my shit. I found it. And I was like, I just trying to get it back. He's like, yo, you should not be in this area. He's like, I see people, I'm busting people across the street for doing heroin, and I hear someone screaming and cursing, and I'm like, there's got to be something going on, and it's you, and I'm gonna bust you for I'm like, you're gonna give me a hard time for cursing. There's people doing crack right there on the street, and you're gonna give me a hard time for cursing. And he's like, I thought you could be a gang member. I'm like, do I look like I'm a fucking gang? I'm like playing in a screamo band.
Yeah, we're playing
down the block,
10 blocks down. Like, you kidding me?
Yeah, like we're in a punk band. We look like that. I'm like, my stuff was stolen. I got back. He's like, just get the hell out of here because you shouldn't be here. Just get out of here. I went back to the venue and came in, like bag held high, and they were like, you're a psycho. I don't know how you live. And they didn't take my book. They took everything else, the electronics, which I didn't care about. They didn't take the book.
Wow.
So I still have the book.
I was saying, you still have that book?
I still have that book. And then I did find out we were about to go to Europe like 6 months later. And right before we went, I realized they got my passport. So I had to rush the passport, go to Connecticut, do that whole thing. But got the book. So, and survived. Because that could have went bad real easily.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. And who were you with? Who you on tour
Sleepy.
with? That was Sleepy?
Yeah.
You guys got to try these fried Oreos before they get cold.
Absolutely
The
incredible.
fried Oreos, the powdered sugar, he even put some syrup on there.
We got the
Crazy.
cookie butter on the sides.
Cinnamon sugar.
Dude, is this on the menu?
No, secret menu.
Secret menu.
The
Secret menu.
Marinara
You gotta try
secret
this.
menu.
Get in here.
No, wrong. Get them.
Rob's definitely allergic to cookie butter.
Oh my God, dude.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
But, you know, like allergic to peanuts. Yeah.
You're allergic to peanuts? And you're eating that? Isn't this looks just like peanut butter?
It's cookie butter. It's I say it again. I didn't have that. Let's go.
All right.
I got some diarrhea. It'll be gone for tomorrow.
I'm not cutting that.
Like no.
No, this is actually like amazing. Like,
Yeah. So good.
There's a chance.
The syrup is a great addition.
yeah. Dude.
Wow.
This reminds me of like the
Yeah,
Tri
this is
County Fair.
amazing.
Remember Tri County Fair? Did they just
Speaking of dangerous places, the Tri County Fair.
Yeah, dude. and speaking of dangerous places, United Skates. That became a dangerous place too.
Did it? Like at some point, it was
Yeah.
like not a.
There was people getting stabbed over there. It became like a pretty tough time to go over that way.
Then like you got the Skatosaurus and stabbings.
Yeah.
That's-
One of our best friends, Josh, he lived right next door to United States. He moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. And we're going to, me and I, we land, he picks us up, we're driving to his house. We look to the left, United Skates. And he wound up moving, there's only two of them, right? The one here and the one there, he wound up moving to the same, he wound up moving to the same town with the United Skates in it.
Poor
He
guy.
said this first time he drove through, he's like, no way.
So
That's insane.
these cookies are not infused tonight.
No.
But I did want to talk to you about your relationship with weed. If this was infused, you wouldn't be eating it, huh?
I feel like a bitch, but I probably wouldn't be eating it. Like,
This
Yeah.
is a safe space. You're not a bitch.
I just feel I've always been sensitive to it. So like, I think I screwed up because when I had never smoked weed before, and it's like in the early days in the Sleeping, actually was celebrating our first record, and this one kid's like, let's give it a listen, and he pulled out a 6-foot bomb, and everybody smoked, and I had never really smoked, so I cleared the bong, and I was like, I'm good, and I cleared it again, and then they passed around a joint, and then I started feeling like I was being born every few seconds, like I was coming into life every few seconds, and then I got really sick and started throwing up, and I was never the same after that. And so weed is never like, I've never jived with it.
Once you get that first bad experience, man, it's tough to come back from.
It was the neuroses.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
like Joe Rogan's one of those people that obviously has dabbled with a bunch of different kind of drugs, and I saw a video of him talking about how like there's nothing worse than having too much THC. Like when you're at that point,
Yeah.
and
pretty bad.
there's no escape.
See, like
Yeah.
now, if you're in that, like, if you do want to try and see if you want to get back into it, always just keep CBD on you.
Yeah.
Because if you have a CBD, 5 milligrams, just if you're feeling too high, just take that. 10 minutes later, you're
Oh, really?
yeah,
Like it'll
it brings,
counteract-
yeah, it brings you down.
Yeah, this guy waits 19 years of friendship to let me know that CBD would have. Yeah, would have solved a lot of my
He's
problems.
looking at me like, slow down, bro. I'm like, I'm not even driving. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I mean, now it's like ubiquitous. Like CBD, you could get that everywhere, right? It wasn't always
you
like
can get
a
it at the
thing.
deli, man.
Yeah, that's insane.
CBD is it's been a thing now for so long. Obviously, THC becoming not even Wild West here now. It's rec, so it's it's really moving in the right direction. CBD is kind of off the market, but it is always a good thing to have if you do experience something like that.
Yeah.
It just
That's good to know.
And not for nothing, CBD is great for you. Recovery wise, it's good to take in the morning. So
Yeah.
it's medicine. It really is.
Franco's dog is addicted to CBD.
Really? He loves
He's a
CBD now?
moose though, so they give it like the little 5 milligram like.
It doesn't do anything.
No, he eats like 4 of them. And he is
my
he's slumped.
Oh my god.
He's just hanging, man.
I've like since then obviously like I've smoked a bunch and tried different things, especially being out in California. Like it's so like they're very meticulous, and you could try, okay, this strain does for this. It's not like the weed like from high school where
You're smoking Acapulco Gold. You
Yeah.
don't know where the hell they came
You
from.
get what you get.
You get what you get.
Yeah.
There, it's very like contrived. So I've experimented in some stuff. I'm like, okay, I feel fine. It's easy. Some stuff I still get paranoid. Edibles are tricky because like,
Yeah, man.
you go down the wrong path with that. That could snap you into another universe. So I just like dabble a little bit here and there because we have the access, and there's some really amazing dispensaries close to my house. So I'll like, okay, I'll try this.
Yep.
Like I said, my mom deals with some serious health issues, and weed has been the some of the only thing that actually has helped with
You were
movement
saying
disorder.
joints, right, for the movement disorder?
Yeah, she actually just took a rip and it helped. It stopped her. She has stomach spasms. It's a neurological disorder that she has. And it's called spinal myoclonus. And it's essentially like she's doing a sit-up every few seconds, like spasms. So she was a singer. She can't sing anymore. And the medicine that she's on is really strong. And, you know, it's harsh. So we wanted to see if weed could help because it helps people with movement disorders. And it did, but it wasn't. We didn't know what kind it was.
Yeah.
We didn't have we weren't able to identify it, so it hasn't been like a consistent thing.
Okay. Is she local here? She's
in Levittown.
yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
So
We can definitely, you know, we'll talk off camera.
sure.
But
Yeah,
for
I'd love
sure.
to experiment
we
with
can
that.
we can get something going with that for sure.
Cool. But yeah, I mean, like I'm not like opposed to smoking or people that smoke. I just I'm like such a neurotic, high-strung guy that I just get paranoid quick. I want it to like, I was
Level you.
hoping it could just like bring me down, but it just doesn't. So
I'm in the same boat as you when it comes to smoking. You know, like everyone talks about, oh, calm down.
not for you.
Opposite effect.
Yeah.
It's mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes your mind race, man.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
you start thinking, and it's
Yeah.
like the worst for me is like sometimes if I smoke like too late, I'll be laying in bed and I'll be like sitting there like thinking about like, am I gonna go to sleep? And then I'm like, how the hell do you just start to go to sleep? Like in my mind, I'm like, if I don't go to sleep, if I keep thinking about it, I'm never gonna go to sleep. But then I wake up and I'm like, holy moly, like what the fuck is going on? Like,
I guess I did go to sleep.
it's crazy. But that's when I smoke too late. You feel the same thing sometimes?
No, sometimes I'm like, shit, am I gonna wake up? Like,
Yeah.
like, palpitations, like my heart starts racing. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to sleep. Am I not gonna wake up because like,
Yeah.
my heart's gonna explode while I'm sleeping?
That's that weed thinking. Like I already feel like that half of the time as it is. So I don't need the extra worry, man. It's like enough.
I totally feel you. On
You have
that.
any superstitions before you go out there?
Superstitions. No, the sleeping we used to do like, you know, a certain kind of like thing that we would do, get ready for the show. In my later years, recently, like the last year or two, I've been dealing with like anxiety around performing, like stage fright, if you will.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of like messing up, but sort of afraid of something going wrong and then like the show is compromised and stuff. I think because the pressure is higher, because I've just been through. It's like, you know, for some people, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. For me, it's like what didn't kill me makes me more neurotic, and I like, you know, I got.
We need a fucking shirt with that or something.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. Like being accustomed to a situation, or for me, I can relate to that in the sense where I came from the healthcare field. So ignorance is bliss.
100%.
So if you don't understand medicine, there's only so much you can worry about.
Yeah.
But then once you start to understand a little bit about medicine, now what you stop worrying about, there's other things to worry
That's when
about.
the wheels start
and
turning.
then
Yeah.
it's like a bad cycle.
Yep.
That's the thing I'm trying to get, and so not really any superstitions, but I'm trying to move past some of this anxiety, and the only way that I've found I've been able to work on it, because I sort of like am always learning and educating, and I'm like, it's like, yo, I know too much. Like I'm not like just la-di-da, I'm gonna go do this thing, I don't give a shit. I'm a
Yep.
thinker, I'm an overthinker. So now I have to like actually educate myself, so I don't leave room for to fill in the gaps with bullshit. Because if you don't know enough, you're just gonna fill in the gaps with fear and worry. So it's like, no, now I gotta educate myself, and I gotta do extra work to find out exactly what I'm afraid of, why I'm afraid of it, and how to like navigate that. And so I'm sort of, to be honest, I'm like in the throes of that right now. Like I've been for the last 6 months really working. Exercise has been a huge help for me. Like
Yep.
I turned to like, you know, because I focus on like meditation and trying to keep calm, but I'm also like a high energy person. So I was like, how it's not helping, it's not bringing it down. I'm like, okay, well, I'm reading about like, do you guys know Wim Hof, the Iceman?
No.
Dude is the man. He's
Okay.
He basically like climbed like Everest in his shorts. He's all about cold therapy and breathing and like cold immersion. He's a freak. You want to watch, like he's the
Yeah, I'm gonna look him up for sure.
dude. He's a dope. This is a whole Vice piece on him. Like,
Oh, if it's a Vice piece, I'm about it. That's
dude, I played on a boat. Bob Moses played on on a giant boat that went into sea with some of the most important people in the world on it. It was like Kendrick, Quentin Tarantino, Tony Hawk, Aaron Brockovich, the CEO of Google. Like everybody was on this boat, and they were all doing speeches and doing all this stuff, and we were performing on it, and we were out to sea for like 3 or 4 days, and Wim Hof was speaking, and I couldn't get to see him, but it was so packed I couldn't get in there. I'm like, who is this dude? And I went and looked him up, and his story, his life story is crazy, but essentially he's learned how to regulate his like nervous system and his adrenaline, so he can, like, they literally did studies with him where they would inject him with like a virus, and he would jack up his adrenaline so high just through breathing techniques while he was sitting in a bed that he was able to like create white blood cells to kill the virus. So the dude is like, and through cold immersion, like he's a freak, and like, but in the greatest way, and he teaches and he talks about all this kind of stuff. So anyway, I went down more of that path, and like David Goggins, like, you know, so I just was like, I'm gonna go hard in that world, and so that's been my focus. And so now it's about trying to just get centered and be as present as I can, because you forget about when you're doing these crazy things. There's so much input coming at all times, and you forget, like, oh shit, I'm doing something that's cool. I honestly, almost every show when we're playing these big shows, I go back to remember like being behind a drum kit in my Levittown in the small house. So we don't have basements in Levittown.
Yeah, man.
So we had, like, in my bedroom upstairs in my little room, I had like a fucking giant double bass kit, and my poor parents had the TV at volume 1,000. You know, when I would come down and they're like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, oh my God. And my speakers, and I'm jamming. And so I go back, that grounds me, that makes me more present. I go back to thinking when I was a kid in there, and now I'm here, and it's just gratitude. It's like, that's the thing that helps the most. So I try to get to that place before the shows. Sorry, that's a long-winded fucking answer.
I love that though. I love that
it,
though.
man.
Speaking of family, you know, you're traveling all over. How do you balance chasing your goals and your dreams along with maintaining your relationships with those around you?
You don't. No, hard work, man. Like, I've always said, like, if you want good friends, you got to be a good friend. Like, you have to put the work in. And for me, like, I'm really lucky that I have like a great group of friends through the years, and like, I make an effort to stay in touch, to get people together.
Yep.
And when I'm home, I do the same. You know, it was mainly, it wasn't hard for that kind of shit. I'm lucky, my family's supportive, my friends are supportive, and they're, you know, when I moved to LA, a lot of my friends already had gone there, and I knew a lot of people from the touring world, so it wasn't like I was there solo. I was able to build community. But it really is it's the romantic relationships that take the hit when you do this kind of shit. And I hadn't had, you know, I had 2 girlfriends in my adult life for short windows of time, just because it was real tumultuous. And they were great, but it was always long distance, and long distance, if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. And that's a tricky thing, especially when you're young. Mm-hmm. So in the last 6 years, I've been with my now fiance, and she, like, as we're a little older, and so she sort of knows like the world a little bit, and she's so like understanding and supportive that, like, I don't have to explain myself. She knows, like, and then you make an effort. You know what I mean? I talk to guys who are like in bigger bands who have like kids and families. I'm like, how do you guys do it? And the key is, like, every 2 weeks you fly that person out. Like, we just met the dude from the band Muse, just came to one of our shows in LA, and I was talking to the singer, and he had just had a kid like a month ago. And I was like, obviously they're fucking Muse. Like, he has all the money in the world, he can fly them anywhere they want, but it doesn't make that easier. And he's like, we make it a point, like, every few weeks to see each other.
Fly them out.
You can't do, like, you do a month, things start getting weird. You know, 6 weeks, they can start getting weird. But like, if you have the right person who understands the life, then it's manageable. So, but yeah, that's the real work, really. Outside of the business, it's like the playing isn't the work. It's the 23 hours.
Yeah,
that's rest of the day that you're not playing. That's the work. So that's like the travel, the eating weird, the trying to be in touch with your loved ones and make it work, make it make sense. That's like what the real trick is. It's not. And if you can battle that if you could work with that, then without like having to get high or get drunk or get fucked up, like if you could use that, it's sustainable, and then you could have a career and you could have healthy relationships.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah,
A lot of
sure.
good points.
I got one more before we head into the last segment, but
Cool.
So, you know, one of my favorites, Miley Cyrus.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we heard that you did a U.S. tour and a European tour with her. I need a story from that one, man, because I know I love her because she's just unapologetically herself, and always has been.
Yeah.
So like for me, she's always been one of my favorites, especially like on the female side of things. And when Garrett's like, yeah, he was touring with her, I'm like, well, I need some dirt from that tour. Yeah, I need a.
Honestly, I got nothing but amazing things to say about Miley.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't disappoint as a person.
Awesome.
And you know, because you know what I find is like some of the bands that are like mid-level bands are like the douchiest because they're like trying to be famous and trying to be cool, and they're like on their come up, so they're trying to like play this role, and you're like, and then the bigger bands I've toured with, most of them have been super nice and down to earth because they did it, and it's like, and she was no exception. Like, I wasn't a Miley fan going into this. It was like 2014, and I was like, I knew that she had a show, but I was older at the point. You know, I'm like 43 now, and I was in my mid 30s, and so like she wasn't on my radar really. But when we got there and I saw her perform, number one, I was blown the fuck away.
She puts on a show.
She puts on a show. Not only like the production is like through the roof, like she comes out, she slid out of a slide that was her tongue at the face, so she flew around on a hot dog around the arena. So the production's crazy, but she is singing perfectly, jumping, hitting marks to hit an elevator to go below the stage, change her outfit, get back on the elevator, come up, sing without missing a note, and entertain the crowd and engage. Like she's a pro on another level. And then when we got to meet her and hang, she's super down to earth, super friendly. She wasn't like this wild girl that everybody.
Just yet.
Not what even then. No, that was her banger era. That was like
That was
wild.
The wrecking ball.
That was the wrecking ball era.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was on her shit, you know. But it was like she was so down to earth and so chill. But I did see like firsthand like what media does in that world. Like we were on stage. I think we were in like London, and she said like, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I only smoke weed. And if you're smoking cigarettes, don't smoke cigarettes. Are horrible for you. If you really need to smoke, pick up a joint, whatever. It was so harmless. But then the next day in the tabloids was, Miley condones weed. She's telling all her little kid fans to smoke. It was so blown out of proportion. I was like, I don't know how someone like this keeps it on the rails.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I would want to kill everybody. You know, I want to flip out. It's like, you just can't do anything without being just ripped to shreds.
Yeah, man. And your every move is just you have a pair of eyes on you.
Yeah. And I mean, she somehow navigates it real gracefully. And, you know, you guys just went to Dublin, and like we played in Dublin and we played in Belfast, and we rode on the bus with her. She's like, come on the bus. And so we jumped on the bus. And at that point we had been touring together. So we were cool. She's like, come on the bus. And we went on the bus, and we just chilled and talked and had some drinks, and we rode all the way to Dublin. And then she bought us hotel rooms. She was like, I'm going to put you guys up in a nice place. Just the nicest person.
Nice.
Invited me to her house on her 4th of July 2 years in a row. I went to her 21st birthday maybe at the time.
That was probably a fucking show.
It was a wild one. But I got nothing but great things to say. She's so fucking cool and super talented. I did not realize how amazing she was, but she's great.
Incredible voice. No, I love to hear that she's like just a genuine person. Like, like after everything her and the family has been through, like you know, just love to hear that she's just a genuine, down to earth, just person.
Yeah, because you feel like that could go sideways so easily. You know what I mean? But
I feel like there's no, it's either she's not, like there's no in between for her.
Yeah.
You know, it's either she's just the great person like you're making
either
it out to me, or
awesome and
just
grounded or a lunatic.
Yeah, exactly.
She was cool.
So tell everyone before Frankie hits you with the finisher. Tell everyone where they can find you on social.
So I'm on Instagram.com/Zizzacron. It's my old breakdancing name.
Zizzacron?
That's still kept all these years. Yeah, I don't really have a TikTok. I
We
don't
hate
have
TikTok. That's
Twitter.
okay.
I know it's like almost like a necessary evil. I'm like, do I do it? Do I not do it? I like can't bring myself to. But anyway, Instagram is the one where you can find me. I have a project with one of the guys that I play with in Bob Moses. It's called Work, and we're releasing a lot of tunes. That's like really the YouTube thing. So you could find it's really starting to roll out, so there's
Okay.
not a lot there, but keep your eyes and ears open for work. And yeah, the sleeping, we got some shows. If you're in New York, come out. And then Bob Moses on Instagram, and try to catch us at a show around the country, around the globe, whenever.
For sure, man.
Yeah,
Boom.
Yeah, for sure. The next time you guys are around me, you definitely got to catch a show.
it'd be cool.
The finisher, as Mario says.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. I like
You
that.
like that?
finish
finisher.
him.
Gotta have one
So
more to finish this.
one person, dead or alive, that you can sit down to dinner with and ask any questions to that they got to answer. Who would it be?
Man, you know, you always see these questions on, these people ask, and I always think, I'm like, I don't even know who that would be. I never took the time to actually think about who that would be. Dead or alive, man.
I mean, we've had answers from all over the map.
Yeah.
Like I mean, one person said Jesus. We had.
Sit down over dinner and have the conversation.
Yep. Kind of just like what we're doing here.
Yeah. Man, I would say Prince, but he probably wouldn't be too fun to talk to. He'd probably be like, they say don't meet your heroes. And like, I feel like he would be like, what do you want? I don't know. What do you want?
So why are we sitting at dinner?
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm going to leave.
You're my 5th dinner tonight.
Yeah,
So you wish for this thing too?
exactly. Too many people wish for this fucking dinner. Yeah. Oh, man, that's a really good question. You know, shit, man. You know, because I can't really. Maybe it's not the most insight. Well, no, it would probably be pretty insightful. But because I can't think of someone that's been like sort of a mentor to me or something that I would love to pick their brain. Man, I would say maybe like. Sorry, guys. I'm taking a second. We gotta edit this fucking
Maybe
space.
this-
This is what we're here for.
This is where I'm going to put in the notes, JP.
Yeah.
Speed up this part.
Look through it. Did someone recently pass away? I feel like
I mean, in music, it was like, wasn't it yesterday the guy from Crazy Town?
I just saw that. He's not on that
Yeah.
list. God bless him. He's not on that list. Man, well, you know what? I'm just gonna go with this. I would sit down with my grandfather that I never met. I was talking to my uncle today. We went to the beach. My uncle lives with us, and he's my dad's brother. And my grandfather died when he was my age, and so the kids grew up for half of their lives without a dad. And you know, it's funny because like I was not funny about that, but what's interesting is that like
Why am I laughing?
no, what's interesting is like the parents and everybody get older, right? And then last time I was home, I sat with my uncle, and he told me his life story. And I grew up with him, but I didn't know a lot of interesting details, and it made a lot of sense. And I'm like, man, once he's gone, the the older generation, they're gone. There's no finding out. Like it's gone.
Man.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
unless they make an effort to put it in a book, or which a lot of people don't do, like you'll never know like what that was. And so I think it'd be really interesting to sit down with my grandfather and find out like where the family sort of came from, where my father and all his brothers, how they came up when they were kids, where he came from. Because my grandmother has passed a few years ago, who I grew up with, and I was on tour, and I couldn't get back for that, and that was pretty brutal. But I did talk to her a bit, and I knew a little bit about it. But it's like I think like, man, I would love to ask more, because once it's done, you'll never know. And so I'm trying to make a conscious effort now to like talk to my parents more, like.
Good. Smart.
What's up with your mom and your grandmother?
Yeah.
Like, what's the lineage? Because, you know, I mean, there's no way to know unless you ask those questions. So it'd be cool to get some proper family history.
No,
I think.
we're all about that.
Yeah, that's the same answer I always give.
Yep.
Yeah.
I never
literally.
met my grandfather either. The one I'm named after.
Oh, okay.
So
I feel like such a piece of shit saying Kid Cudi after both of you guys and your grandfathers.
Yeah, I mean, day and night, that's a tune, though.
Dude, day and night. That's that really transformed rap for me. That was my
Yeah.
That was that 2007.
Yeah, everyone else stopped listening to Kid Cudi. Franco kept listening.
I'm more of a Biggie, like that was Nas and Biggie in the 90s, and still to this day are my guys always.
Yeah,
forever.
I mean,
Can't
for,
go
like,
wrong with
no,
that.
yeah, it's those guys that you can't. Like for me, like I mean,
more modern.
yeah, more modern for me. Like Kid Cudi, just he would be like, we get him over here, it would be like I don't even know what I would say to him. If I had like, I'd be like Mario, you got
kicking Franco off the floor.
like Franco, pick up your jaw, kid.
But dude, thank you for sharing
Yeah,
those stories.
seriously.
Thank you for opening up. We
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thanks
bro.
for
Yeah,
coming.
guys,
Thanks for
this
being
was-
here.
This was sick. No, it was great. It was an awesome podcast. You guys are great. The food was incredible.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Garrett,
Thanks
man.
again to Marriage and Aaron,
Unexpected,
Garrett. Appreciate you.
As per usual. Every time we come in here, I just love like the random like I told Gareth last time I was in here, I'm like I don't really eat pizza that often, but like when I come past, I'm like, shit, I need his pizza right
Yeah,
now.
slice.
Like, it's some of the best around, man. So
Sick.
It really
I'll
is.
be back.
yeah,
Always
definitely.
back. Always back in town. So like I'll be back. I'll see you guys.
We'll get together.
Again
That's
soon.
it.
Yeah.
We're the Oven Podcast. You know the drill. Follow us on all the socials. Keep sharing the show. Spank that subscribe button. And don't forget, there's always an open seat for you at the Oven.
Yes, sir.
Keep it cooking in the oven.